Alright, hello, welcome to a new video. Today we're going to do this problem called 2215. Find the difference of two arrays. It's an easy problem in LeetCode. And I know I haven't uploaded a video in a while, but just know that I have been practicing. Been applying for jobs. I got like, a company wants me to call them because they're interested in me, I guess. Want to know more about my resume and stuff, so that's cool. So I've been practicing a while, but I just got that email that they want to call me just like yesterday. Just like this morning. So it's a good thing that I'm practicing. So let's go solve this, which I have it set up already here. So let's go over this with my problem solving process. So first off, I'm just going to read the problem, understand it. Then I'm going to ask some questions that if I have any. Then I'm going to go through some examples. And then after I go through some examples, I like to figure out what tools I can use to solve this problem, and then after that I like to go ahead and plan it with some pseudocode and then actually code it itself, or do both at the same time. I don't know. So let's go through it. So let's go read it. So given two zero index integer arrays nums1 and nums2, return a list of answers of size 2 where. Before I read that, I'm just gonna just take note. So we know that our inputs is going to be two int arrays, nums1 and nums2, and then our output is going to be an int array named answers with size of 2. Okay, and then it says that to note. Says answer at 0 is okay, so it's sublist. Okay, so let's just say that answer equals a list of sublists. It's a list of sublists that contain ints. Okay, so answer 0 is a list of all distinct integers in one, so unique int in one and nums1 that aren't in nums2, and then answer at index 1 or the second sublist is also unique ints in nums2 that aren't in nums1. Okay, so that's interesting. Note that the integer in the list may be returned in any order. Okay, that's also good to know. I was about to ask that. No, that'd be a good question to ask. Like, does it have to be in a specific order or no? So, int and sublist can be in any order. That's cool, I guess. So, now some questions, I guess, is I guess a question can be, can any input list be empty? By input list I mean nums1 and nums2. Let me scroll down. Okay, it can't be. No, it has a min length of 1. And then I guess another question is, I was about to say like there's any floats, but it just says integer array, so that wouldn't apply, right? Okay, so okay, so I was just thinking about like what tools we can use, but it's better off we just go through an example first. So we're going through this example knowing that there can't be a min length of 0, that the min length is 1. So let's go over like an example that will always work, which they always will, because there's no like error checking, because I don't know. So alright, so for our input, let's say we have nums1 is equal to like 1 2 3, then nums2 is equal to 3 4 5. So if we take that into account, the output would be answer, right? And then at the first sublist would be unique ints and num1 that aren't in nums2. So Numbers that aren't in nums2 that but are in nums1 is 1 and 2. And then let me think. And then for the sublist, for the second sublist, it's supposed to be unique ints and nums2 that aren't in nums1, so that's 4 and 5. Okay. Okay, so that makes sense, right? Yeah, that makes sense. And so now that we've done that, I feel like we should do an example where like there's no unique ints that aren't in both. So no, we should do numbers that are in both, like all the numbers that are in both. So let's say our input is just like nums1 is equal to 1 and 2, and then nums2 is equal to 1 and 2, right? And then our output should be an answer is equal to 2 empty sublists. Like that should be our answer, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that's it. I think, is that what it says here? Okay, so 1 and 2, 3 isn't there. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, cool. So now that we've gone through some examples, we asked some questions, we kind of do understand the problem. So we can just go ahead and figure out what tools we can use to solve this problem. So let's go ahead and match, right? So what I'm thinking about is that we're going to run a O of n time complexity, and then O of n space complexity at most, I guess. So what am I thinking about? We can use sets or a hash map. I'm pretty sure we use set. We use set for sure. And because it makes sense, because sets are used to hold unique elements in it. But I just gotta double check to know if I understand sets and how they work still. I'm not sure, we'll see. So now let's go ahead and we're also gonna do like a for loop to iterate through both nums1 and nums2. I'm not sure if we only need 1 or 2, but we'll see. Depends on how I figure it out in my head. And then set for loop, and then of course we're gonna use if statements. And then we're probably gonna use .append to append to answer, to append sublist to answer, right? And then let me think. Heads, for loop, if statements, append. Is there anything else that I'm missing? I don't think so. So let's go ahead and plan it. Let's make a rough plan. I think I'm trying this new thing out where I kind of make the skeleton of my code and then make comments as like statements of like what I want to do in the code itself without actually coding it. So I'm going to try that. So I'm going to name this function get difference, I guess. It's going to take in nums1 and nums2. So let's go get user input first. So get user input. Okay. So I can say nums1 is equal to just num for num and input dot split. I could just copy paste this. Okay, cool. And then we're gonna call get difference with arguments of nums1 and nums2. And we'll print out that return value, which should just be answer. But anyways, let's go ahead and solve this. So let me think. I think I want to make a set of nums1 and nums2. So I think So I think I want to create sets of nums1 and nums2. With maybe like a for loop, maybe. Like a for loop, maybe, and then make that into a set, or maybe like a method. For loop or method, I don't know. And then once you get that, you can kind of compare. We can kind of compare. Compare sets to see. Okay, so compare nums1 set if element in nums2, and then what do we say? And so if not in nums2, then we're going to if not in nums2, we're going to append, and then compare nums2 set if element in nums1, if not in nums1, append sublist 0. Like, that makes sense, right? I just gotta figure out if there's a better way to do that. I'm not sure, but I think this is fine. Like, this all makes sense, right? And then we're going to basically return answer. I'm gonna name it result, actually. No, let's name it answer. Just to be should just be the same as LeetCode, right? Then I guess we can like initialize answer already. So answer is equal to a list with 2 empty sublists, I guess. 2D list, right? That makes sense. I think that's fine. So yeah, I think like it makes sense. So that's, yeah, this plan does make sense. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna code it up basically. So but before that, let me just like research how to make a list into a set in Python. There's probably like a method to do that, right? Yeah, there's a built-in method. So just show me. Okay, so I can say that yeah, I can say that nums1 is equal to the set of nums1. Then I can say nums2 is equal to the set of nums2. Like, that should work, right? I'm pretty sure that should work. Yeah, this should work. And we needed to compare nums1 and set. I'm pretty sure there's like a difference of sets in Python. There's like a thing for that. But I think yeah, there should be, yeah, there's a thing for that, but I think they want us to like do it in this way, where it's like we do it with like a for loop or something like that. I think that's fine though, so we'll just do that. So I need to do this with using a for loop. Yeah, both with for loops. So for num and nums1, right? If num not in, so if num not in nums2, then we're going to append it. We're going to append the num into answer at 1. I know at 0. At append num. I'm pretty sure that should work, right? Yeah, I'm pretty sure this works because I'm appending it in the 0th sublist, so that makes sense. And just to double check, I want to see, yeah. So if not in nums2, then append in sublist at 0. Okay, so it makes sense. Then I can do the same here. Num in nums1, nums2. If num not in nums1, I'm going to append it in the other sublist, and then we're going to turn answer. So this should work. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it looks like it should work. I'm just gonna run it with the example of that I put here. 1, 2, 3, and 3, 4, 5. So 1, 2, 3, and 3, 4, 5. Okay, yeah, so it does work. Let's do it with this example, 1 and 2. 1 and 2, and then 1 and 2. Empty, cool. Before I review the complexities, let's just see if it works in LeetCode. Hopefully it does. I mean, should work, right? Okay, so it does work. It's all right. So yeah, so to review the time complexity, we're going through. At most, it's gonna be O of n, because we're going through each element in nums1 and nums2. So I guess it's O of n times 2, but it doesn't really matter. Or no, and then we're going to go through set, which is O of n, because it goes through every element, and then, but yeah, at most it's just O of n, like worst case. And then for space complexity, we're using a set, so we're basically putting every element, or we're basically going through every element, and then we're putting those elements in a set. So that's why it makes it O of n space complexity. Yeah, that makes sense. So yeah. So yeah, O of n times complexity and O of n space complexity. And that's the solution for this problem. Pretty easy.